Welcome to the Conversation Cole Ones podcast. I'm your host, Damien, my co host, Jared.
Hola.
Jared, why don't you take us into the brewskis of the week?
Well, lads and lasses, this week I'm rocking in my Yeti mug that I don't remember where I got. I've got some Crown Apple or Crown Royale Apple, however you want to put it, and I also have that mixed with cranberry cranberry ginger ale.
Nice.
Yes,
I
pretty good mix.
I'm rocking the good old water today.
Gotta love it. One of us has to be healthy today.
Gonna be honest, forgot to pick up something earlier, but
Happens, trust me.
all right. So before we get into our main topic of the week, which is ranking all the Christopher Nolan movies, I do have something to show off today that I actually got today that I am super stoked about. And that is the Godfather trilogy on 4K. This is the
Boy.
50th anniversary. Obviously directed by Francis Coppola. So you have the first one, obviously probably the most classic mafia movie of all time. Um, on the back it says, "I'm going to make him an offer you can't refuse." And then this is like what the inside looks like. Then you go to The Godfather Part 2, which is what the front looks like. And on the back it says, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer." And then you have the inside that looks like that. And then you go to The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone, which is Godfather Part 3. It's actually a different version, though. This is now the canon version, because Godfather Part 3 had two different versions. You had the normal one that was released in theaters. Coppola didn't really like that one. He preferred Coda, so now Coda is the canon third movie. This. And then on the back it says, "Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in." And then you have the Coda version of 3. And then finally they give you a bonus disc or bonus discs. And that is the theatrical version of Godfather Part 3 and then the Blu-ray
Ooh.
version. So 2, 3, 4, 5 discs. I got it for a crazy deal. So the set came out today, but Best Buy already had it on sale because it was selling for $89.99. Best Buy had it on sale for $15 off, and then I had a coupon for because I spent so much money with Best Buy. They gave me $15 off any item I wanted. So
Damn.
$30 off, couldn't pass it up, especially because it's a set I want. Even though I'm not a huge fan of The Godfather, the transfers are really good, and like I'm gonna give them another shot because I haven't seen The Godfather or 2 or 3 in 6-7 years. So,
Damn. I don't think I've
um,
ever seen them, so that's better than me.
well, I have them digitally too in 4K, so we can watch them. Is I mean, at least the first one. The first one you have to see. It's just a classic.
At this point, we might have to make a mini series out of me watching movies that you've seen and then reacting to them because I feel there's a lot of movies that you feel like it's a disgrace that I haven't seen.
Yeah, I
I
feel
feel like we
like.
should do something like that.
Oh yeah, for sure. We'll have to like get recordings of our faces too and do it. Good idea.
Easy.
Um, like there's just like when it comes to like classic movies, there's just movies you have to see if like you're gonna be like into movies.
Oh, for sure.
Godfather, The Shining, 2001, Terminator. Well, not so much Terminator.
Good
Uh,
movies though.
yeah. Um, but like I mean, Apocalypse Now is kind of one of those. So yeah, let's get into our Christopher Nolan movie rankings. So we have 10 films we were ranking. We actually just finished watching the last one today, right before we started recording. I would just like to say, for me personally, I don't think there is a bad movie on this list. They just, in preference, that's just how I feel.
Yeah.
Um, so Jared, what is your number 10 slash least favorite Nolan
That's gonna be Memento.
film?
I got to be honest. You just said there's not a movie on this list that you think is bad. I'm gonna go with this one's the only one I think was bad. Um, it wasn't a horrible movie, but when you compare it to like the top 4 movies in this list, fuck the first half of these movies, uh this is not, in my opinion, a good movie. This isn't a standout movie. Like if I had to say, all right, watch, 5 of Nolan's films, this one is literally the last one I think of. And I mean, I feel like for good reason. The story wasn't bad, um, compared to I think a lot of movies out there, but with the whole movie going backwards thing, it just turned me off. There are other movies in this list that make you think that I actually enjoy. This one made me think, and I didn't enjoy it. That's just the best way I can really put it. If I remember correctly, this was he had some kind of mental disorder. I think this was probably one of the first movies we watched, if not
This
the first.
was the first movie we watched.
Yeah, so this one is unfortunately I am struggling to remember some of the details, but he has a memory disorder and basically he has short-term memory or yeah, short-term memory loss is what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he remembers, like, growing up to a point, and then there's an injury. He then, from that injury, has a memory for a short spurt, disappears, then another short memory and spurt. And he has to, like, make notes, like, he has to do things to try to remember what happened, and I like a lot of the ideas that they, talk about, like, with the tattoos and, like, how he has tattoos about what's what, and then, like, seeing as the film goes on, like, at the very beginning, you have these pictures, and on the pictures are written things that he's put that says like, "Oh, don't trust his lies, don't believe his lies," or whatever for one of the pictures. And you go to the point where he does it, and you're like, "Shit, like, is that something that like he should have done?" So it makes you question a lot of stuff. But again, it's one of those movies where I had to think about it a little bit too much. I didn't necessarily enjoy the payoff at the end. Does not mean it's a terrible movie. It just, in my opinion, is not a great movie, especially comparing to the rest of the movies in this list. So, what is your number 10?
So my number 10 is also Memento. Um I just think since it's the first like big feature film he did, it wasn't like a big feature film, but like his first big movie. Um it's just like I think the script's a little sloppy at some points. I do love the whole aspect of telling the story backwards and how like you're solving this mystery from the end and you're needing all that previous info, right? Um I love the fact that and spoiler warnings if you've never seen any of these movies, we're going to be spoiling them. But I love the fact that in this movie like they were talking about that one guy who like gave too much insulin to his wife um and eventually killed her, and that was just a metaphor for what Guy Pearce did to his wife, right? He made up this
Yeah.
story to help hide his emotional pain because obviously, what happened with his wife and stuff. I love like Jared said, I love that like his body is like the clues because like at certain points in the movie he'll reveal a new tattoo that he has, and that like clicks into something that you're about to learn. You'll be like, okay, now I know why he has that tattoo. So the puzzle pieces that go together are really interesting. I do think it's a really interesting movie. It's just like out of all the Nolan films, this is the one I watched the least. um and I just feel like it's one of those movies you can watch once or twice and you've gotten everything from it. Yeah, my number 10 is Memento. What is your number 9?
Before I say my number 9, I just want to say one more thing about number 10, Memento there. That is definitely a movie I would have to rewatch in order to get more appreciation out of it. So seeing
Oh,
it one time maybe doesn't do it the justice it deserves. But again, I stand where I stand. My number 9 movie is Batman Begins.
really weird. All right, why?
So the reason it is Batman Begins is because much as I love Batman and as much as I love Christian Bale's trilogy or Nolan trilogy, however you want to put it, uh this movie just didn't live up to the memories of it. While I have fond memories of watching this movie for the first time and thinking, "Oh, what a great goddamn movie. There's no way they'll top this." And then they do the next two films. A lot of these movies it was my first time seeing them. For example, we'll go through uh Tenet, first time seeing it. That was I didn't see it in the theaters when it came out. I never wanted to see it. I thought it looked like shit. Then you made me watch it. Dunkirk, never seen that. So it's another one for the first time. Insomnia, never seen that. Also for Memento, same thing. Obviously, I'd seen the Batman movies. I'd obviously seen Interstellar, Inception. Those were very popular. and there's Prestige I'd seen in parts, but not the full thing. So that was kind of like the for the first time. So that being said, after seeing all of these, Batman Begins slowly dropped down the list to the very bottom. Originally, I had it much higher, but as like I said, as we added movies on, it went lower, and that is because after seeing some of these movies for the first time, I didn't realize the masterpieces that I was missing out on, and I was like, "Oh, just by the title of these movies, I thought 4 of these were gonna suck ass, and I was not gonna like them at all." And I was shocked to see that I was wrong. That's really the best description I can say for why Batman Begins is so low, because I think the movie is good. At this point, 9 through 1, they're in order of, like, how I feel about them. There's not much else I can say. They were great movies. This was a good movie. Um, and I mean, I think we talked about this a little bit when we ranked the Batman movies as well. It's a good movie, but you gotta put it in a place somewhere.
Yep.
So, it's number 9. There's really not much else I can say about it.
My number 9 is also Batman Begins. Um, so we talked about this in our Batman rankings a few weeks ago. Like, I just have a hard time with origin story movies for superheroes. I just think they tend to be the most boring out of a set, and especially with Batman. Like, even though this movie, like, the first 30 minutes are fantastic, it's one of those films that, like, you see Nolan trying to, like, get his, like, footing with Batman. I do love the Scarecrow in this movie. The movie slows down a lot towards the middle. And I just don't, out of all the Nolan films, once again, it's just like Memento. Like, you can see this film once or twice and you've gotten everything from it. There's no deeper meaning behind a lot of the stuff. Like when you get to Dark Knight, there's so much that goes into that film.
Yeah.
Batman Begins is just like a really, like, and I get why he had to make it so cut and dry so people would go see it, get themselves attached with it to go see the next one, right? And this
Yeah.
film, for me, out of the Dark Knight trilogy, is just the most basic and most like cut to point. So I just feel like if you look at Nolan's whole discography, or filmography, sorry, these two are the most basic. So. What is your number 8?
Uh, well, before I say my number 8, again, I would say to your point, saying like 1 or 2 times to see these movies, and that's really all you need. That's I think you're hitting a nail right in the head there because you're right. You see it once, it's like, wow, there wasn't a lot to that. I don't really need to see it again. But seeing it a second time does do justice. You see little details you missed out. Especially if it's like I saw it once when I was younger, seeing it again 10 years later, like kind of like
Yeah.
how I did, not full 10, but there are details that I just didn't remember or missed out on. Like the whole beginning where he like is like a childish little bratty Bruce Wayne. You miss out on some of that stuff. So you get a little bit more appreciation for it a second time through, but it isn't enough to warrant in a higher spot in this list. Anyway, number 8 is Dark Knight Rises.
This is so weird. Okay.
Uh, Dark Knight Rises is a very, very similar position as Batman Begins. It was much higher on this list. Like at one point in the top 3, because in the order we watched these movies, I thought it was a damn great movie. I still think it is a damn great movie. I'm pretty sure in our Batman rankings, I listed it as my number 3 favorite Batman
I think
movie.
so. We both did.
Yeah, it's a fantastic. I mean, Tom Hardy. I've gotten a huge erection over Tom Hardy as an actor the past couple of years here, seeing him in all the movies I've seen him in. And I got to be honest with you, it's only getting bigger every time I see him in these movies. He is fucking phenomenal. And every time there are a few people in my life who have said that Tom Hardy is a shit actor. He plays the same character in every movie. It makes me sad because it's not fucking true. He's amazing. Uh, but I'm kind of noticing a theme here. Other than Dark Knight, uh, the superhero movies on this list just don't hit. They don't hit the same way as a lot of these other movies. Not to say that the superhero movies are bad, but I think with everything that Marvel has given us these past couple of years, I mean, fuck, however many years it's been now since like first Iron Man to present, superhero movies have definitely gotten a bit old. So Batman isn't obviously like Marvel, but I feel like that's my reasoning to why these are so low. Uh, Nolan does a great job. Phenomenal movies. Not saying anything like they're bad movies, but there are so many other things like on this list these movies do to make me feel other than like the superhero tropes, and they deserve a spot above Dark Knight Rises. Simple as that. Again, not saying this movie's bad. I still recommend you see this. This is still obviously my third favorite Batman movie, but when it comes to the Nolan films, it's my eighth favorite. So
Yeah,
What's
so
your 8?
my number 8 is Dark Knight Rises as well. The reason why I put it at 8 above Batman Begins is I just like Tom Hardy's performance. I think he steals the show by far. Um,
Yes.
I do think this movie has a lot of pacing issues. I think I ranked this as my third or fourth favorite Batman film, but it just has a lot of pacing issues. It drags where it doesn't need to. And I've never liked the fact that like they've shoehorned I forget her name to be like the main villain, and then it kind of like it
Anne
de-escalate.
Hathaway?
No, not Anne Hathaway. The actual like the daughter to Ra's al Ghul.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, that bitch.
and it kind of like sidesteps Tom Hardy's Bane, and so he's just a henchman. That's always bothered me because like I feel like when Nolan was making this movie, he's like, all right, well we got to have a twist. We got to have a twist. When I think the movie was fine the way it was, I would have preferred a longer fight scene between Bane and Batman than Batman and her character. Um, Also, I think this movie, like towards the end, I don't like how sterile the city looks. It looks very sterile, and like I know there's not like a lot going on story wise in the city, but there's like I've always had an issue with that. Like I've never liked the color of that movie. I make fun of Captain Marvel because I say the color of that movie's concrete, right? There's no color in that movie at all. And this film also has that. Um yeah, Dark Knight Rises for me, number 8. Wouldn't it be funny if our lists were completely the same?
I have a feeling that after this, they're gonna be a lot different.
Okay, what is your number 7?
My number 7 is Insomnia.
Okay, we're safe.
Okay.
Why is that?
Uh, so Insomnia is our second most recent movie we watched. Uh, and this one landed low for me because of honestly the way that a couple of these other movies that I'd seen for the first time, the way they landed compared to this one. I was pleasantly surprised by this movie. I was expecting to not like this one. This was like the biggest one I expected to not like. Uh, I like genuinely expected like Memento more than this. Like just, and this is based on the off the names of the movies, based on what I pictured would happen, based on the names. I thought this one was gonna suck. It really didn't. This movie felt similar to. I'm trying to feel the right words here. It felt similar to other like investigative movies.
Yes,
I
crime
don't know how to
movies.
explain that. Crime, thriller, that kind of thing. But it had a fucking beautiful twist to it, and I feel like the twist I'm about to bring up is what makes it stand out from all these other movies. Uh, it's obviously called Insomnia. If you haven't seen it before, fucking spoilers alert. But the main detective, they go to Alaska, and the main detective he can't sleep because of the time difference. It's always fucking daylight out. He has a hard time sleeping. He gets insomnia. He can't fucking sleep for like what does it end up being 6 or 7 days straight. It's a long goddamn time. And I feel like you just don't have that kind of twist. I mean, there's things like the main detective he can't do this, he can't do that. But this is so much it's just so much more dramatic with not being able to sleep, and you can see it slowly taking a toll on him. And with the, I guess, main villain or antagonist in this movie, Robin Williams, coming in and like kind of pushing it, like making it more clear to him, and like, look, you're like, you can't sleep, like you're slipping up, and like he tries to deny it, like what the fuck is his name? I
Al
forgot
Pacino.
already. Thank you, Al Pacino tries to deny it. He tries to pretend that isn't true. And I feel like that those two characters are dynamic. Like the interactions are, it's beautiful. It makes it a very good movie. I also like that throughout this movie, you get the flashbacks or like the quick flashes across the screen. Like at one point, Robin Williams says, "You're up so long, you're gonna start seeing things. You see flashes of light, things that aren't there." And although we never see like an actual like shadow person in the corner of his eye, you get these flashes of like actual flashbacks, memories from his past. And there are many things that happen that you see, like him cleaning blood out of his shirt, or like just this room where you assume it's the bad guy this whole time. And at the end of the movie, you get this huge reveal that it was him. And like the whole time, he was self-consciously or like without thinking about how the fuck I forget the word subconsciously sounds right. Like he knew he was guilty. He knew what he was doing was wrong, but he was trying to like hold what like the lesser of two evils, the greater good over the like his personal bad. Um, and the way it all pulls together end is extremely satisfying, especially when he is on his deathbed. And he goes, let me sleep. Let me sleep. That's very nice. But tying it together where it's does he decide to be the good cop or the bad cop? And even one of the supporting cast says like, oh, it was a quote you made about good cops can't sleep through the missing piece of the puzzle, bad cops can't sleep. Something about guilty conscience. I don't remember that part. Uh, and you can tell that he decides he wants to be a good cop at the end because right before he leaves his fucking
Hotel
hotel
room.
room.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. His hotel room for the last time, he picks up his badge. He takes it with him, and he had not taken it with him for many of those days before that. At least I believe that's what they were trying to show in that frame. That's what I got from it. If I'm wrong, then you'll have to let me know. And that it made me feel good when he did that. Like I'm glad that he chose to do the right thing. I felt that even though so many bad things happened and so many things came up to where he wasn't necessarily doing good the whole time, in the end, he chose to do the best he could with what he had. Uh, and I don't know, I feel like I might be missing some other, like, underlying messages, and I hope I'm not. I hope that I hit all of them. But it's 7th because there are other movies in this list that hit better than this one, show better messages, that just have better overall screenplay, and plot. But other than that, this movie was good, beats the other 3 out. So what is your number 7?
My number 7 is Tenet. Um,
Wow,
yeah, I
that is shocking.
gotta be honest with you. I had this one at 9 for a while. Um, so this is the most recent Nolan film. I do think it's a really good film. I just don't. Out of all the films that are above this, I feel like the screenwriting is way better, and more tight. This film definitely has a lot of like stuff just happens. It just happened to progress the film. I also like think this is one of those films that you have to watch 3, 4, 5 times to actually like fully understand the concept, which is fine. Don't get me wrong, that's not like a negative, but it's definitely like even to this day, I've seen this movie probably 8 or 9 times, and some of the stuff that they talk about doesn't make sense for the film, and some certain scenes go against what they say in the film. I also don't care about the protagonist really at all. I think James David Washington does a good job. Like he's a good actor, but I don't have any emotional resonance with the protagonist. Um, I like Robert Pattinson's character. I love the action in this movie, but when it comes to a lot of the other movies on this, I like the characters more. I relate with the characters more. The screenwriting's better. And also, this movie has a lot of audio issues. Like, there's a lot of points in that film where you can't hear what the person's saying. Even now, like, I have it on 4K on the disc, and still, there are certain points where you can't even clearly make out what they're saying. And that's just because the audio mix was not good in this. So, yeah, Tenet for me, number 7. When I saw this in theaters, I'm glad I saw it in theaters because it was a fucking ride. But, like watching it again with you, I like sat there and realized like, wow, like this movie could have been way better, way better. So, what is your number 6?
So, my number 6 is Dunkirk.
Yeah,
Um, I wanted to put this movie higher. I really liked this movie, but I just couldn't justify putting it higher because I felt every movie above it right now is better.
yeah,
This is my first time seeing Dunkirk. I also didn't realize what Dunkirk was about. I thought that this movie was about a first of all, this takes place during World War II. I thought this took place during World War One. I don't know why. Like I know a lot about World War II history. I know like the whole like Dunkirk thing. For whatever reason, in my head, I thought it was World War One. I thought it happened in a totally different place. This when we started watching it, I was like, "Holy shit, was I wrong?" Pleasantly wrong, pleasantly surprised. There has to be another movie that I'm thinking because I can see scenes in my head that I thought was from this movie and it's not. So one day I might be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, that movie that I was an idiot about is whatever." But until then, Dunkirk. Uh, it was good. There were a lot of people in this movie who I wasn't expecting to be in this movie. One of the admirals in Tenet, which I mean, I know Nolan brings back some people from his movies, but I liked his performance. It was very good. Uh, Tom Hardy again being a fucking baller. I fucking loved Tom Hardy's performance in this movie. It even though he wasn't like the main character or even like I don't even think like the top two main characters, like of who was being who had the camera on him the longest. He like to me, I wanted to know more about him the whole movie. I was more interested in Tom Hardy's character than I was the main character for the entire movie. I fucking adored Tom Hardy. I adored his like friends, his pilot friends. Like I fucking loved it. It was phenomenal. Um, I really liked the beginning, which I feel like I don't always like beginnings of movies. This one was a very interesting, like kind of ghost town feel. Once they get ambushed at the very beginning and they're running around through the streets, it and like they get to the beach, it felt surreal. Um, I don't know how to describe it other than like, wow, what is there's a movie where they're out on like the salt flats and it's like there's nothing. You just see like basically like a mirage,
Oh,
and it's just
Rise of Skywalker
yes, it's similar to that.
or
Yeah, that's a
Last
very
Jedi.
good.
Sorry, Last Jedi.
The Last Jedi. So it's not that's not the movie I'm thinking of, but that's very, very good. That's very similar. And it just feels like it just doesn't feel real, doesn't feel right. Like there's just all these men standing in the lines in this beach. There's supplies stacked up very neatly, and there's like no noise except for distant like artillery shelling, gunfire. Like it's so bizarre. And in that moment, I was like, what is happening? Until like things started progressing, like maybe 10, 15 minutes later, that part I was like, this is this a dream? Is this not real? Like I thought this was gonna take such a different twist because of that scene alone. It threw me off. But like that's the thing. That's how it was. Like it was hopeless. They needed to get out of there. They needed to get off that beach, and it was. I'm running out of like I don't know how else to put it. Others is completely surreal.
Yeah.
Um, from there, it escalates, and this movie does another thing that I guess kind of Memento does. I don't know if it's in the same. It's maybe even like Tenet does, where you've got two different stories. I believe moving in separate directions. Like
Yeah.
is that right? So you have Tom Hardy's version that's going, I guess, the correct way, and then you have what's happening with the main character the backwards. Like I don't know how really to word that,
So
but it's
Tom
not at the
Hardy
same time.
Tom
They
Hardy
meet
is
up and
like
cross.
present, like present
Yes.
day, and so is
Yes.
the people on the beach. Or the people on the beach are like a few hours before, and
Okay.
then the boat people are a day behind.
Okay. So that's yes. So as Damien said, like in the movie, it says like 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour, and so like it's all he says that, and I definitely need to rewatch this movie because I didn't understand the 1 week, 1 day, 1 hour thing when it pops up. It confused the ever living fuck out of me. I was like, what the fuck does this mean? Like at the end of the movie, I kind of got it. Rewatch it. I need to rewatch it so I understand it more. But they do like this time thing again, and again, I don't understand it fully. Damien will probably talk about it more and make it a little bit more clear for you guys. But basically, you got the main character who is trying to get off the beach. Obviously, this whole time he runs into a few different people. One person that is a runaway. You have another person who was on the boat, on the original boat, fell off. So this is all this different stuff. And they team up with another group. They try to take their own boat. And like in certain scenes, you see, like when Tom Hardy's doing stuff, you see these boats, you see these people, and it's like, wait a minute, that looks familiar. And then you get those glimpses later in the movie, uh, tying it all together beautifully. And that's something that as I'm talking, I realize Christopher Nolan does so well is he takes the plot, even though it may not make sense, he ties it together so fucking well at the end. It is amazing. He is an artist with that. Um, but that's again another Nolan thing. He ties together the end perfectly. Very satisfying, and takes something that was so bizarre to at least to me, it was bizarre, surreal, and then turns into something beautiful, even in its own like it for a war movie in its own like way turns into something beautiful. And that one genuinely swept me off my feet. But the reason I have it in sixth is because the movies above it, I can't help but feel are better than this. And it's from here on out, it's very difficult for me to say why it's in each place. It just is. I don't know what to say about it.
Yeah, so my number 6 is also Dunkirk. Um, I think when it comes to this film, like Tom Hardy stuff is probably the best part of this film. I do like what Nolan did with the main character because he doesn't really speak, and use that main character as like you're supposed to be like you in the battlefield. Like you could see yourself being there and get more into the film, which I think does work. Um, I like I said with Tom Hardy, I love the fact that like he has to measure his gallons. Like the whole dogfight like scenes with him are fantastic. The best parts of the movie,
Yes.
especially at the end. You know when he runs out of gas and they're losing all hope because here comes the fucking planes to strike down on him on the beach people again, and he's there even though he has no gas. He still sacrifices himself again to get those planes out. Yeah, I just feel like it's at number 6 because other than Tom Hardy stuff, like I really don't care once again about the characters, and you're not really supposed to. So, like, I understand where he's coming from, but I prefer more connection with characters. I think the action in this is phenomenal. It's amazing. The sound design in this film is also fantastic. Like the sounds of the plane fire, the bombs. Like when I saw this in theaters, like that was like this is out of all the Nolan films that I saw in theaters, like Dunkirk was the one I left the theater going like, holy shit, like that sounded amazing. Like Tenet was okay, but Tenet was loud. But Tenet was loud because it was just loud. That's how the movie is. Dunkirk wasn't just loud. It was gunfire. It was music. It was so much more than what Tenet was.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, Dunkirk is my number 6. What is your number 5?
My number 5 is Inception.
Okay,
uh, so number 5, Inception. Like I said, here on out, it's hard for me to rank these. This movie to me is still one I don't fully grasp. Uh, I don't, for whatever reason, I have a hard time understanding the dream, like the whole dreamscape thing. I don't know why it is, but I struggle to grasp that concept. But like what I do understand of it, I do enjoy. Uh, Leonardo DiCaprio's fucking performance in this movie is phenomenal. He's got such wonderful supporting cast. Tom Hardy shows up in this movie again, which well deserved. Actually, now I'm thinking about it. I fucking again Tom Hardy's performance in this movie is fantastic. Um, the whole twist, well, I guess not twist, but the plot line with Leonardo DiCaprio's character and his wife and his kids, that whole thing that happens, like outside of them trying to complete this contract for the gentleman, like who's opposing the, I forget his goddamn name, the what's the guy's name who has the fathers dying? I can't
Cillian
remember.
Murphy.
Yes, Murphy. Thank you. Uh, Directly opposing him. That storyline, while I gather a lot of that, the whole Leo and his wife thing, that part is always like it's eluded me. I don't quite understand it, but it doesn't mean I'm not intrigued by it. I want to understand it. I want to know more. That's why I like this movie so much. It's why it is here is because what I don't understand makes me like it. I like that it makes me think and makes me wonder, and whether or not I'm just missing it or whether or not I or it's not portrayed in the movie or whether me personally I'm missing it, it doesn't matter. It makes it good. It is that level of mystery next to what they know is fact that just make it meshes very well. Um, yeah, number 5.
My number 5 is Insomnia. I love this film. I love crime thrillers, especially when they're done so well. Silence of the Lambs, Seven. I mean, the Batman really is a crime thriller. So when it's done really well, I think these movies pay off and are so interesting to watch. I when we go down to the cinematography, I think for sure, like landscape wise, this has the best aerial landscape shots of any Nolan film. Um, I love Al Pacino's performance in this. I mean, this is early 2000s where he, comes off Heat. He does this movie, like two great films back to back. Um, yeah, and Robin Williams, who like I'm not usually high on, I think he gives a really good performance that's really creepy. I love the fact that like Al Pacino, you never really get an answer to did he kill his partner on purpose? And the way Christopher Nolan frames it is you don't know really either. The character kind of has to tell you. And there's a one sequence in the film where Al Pacino's like, you know, when I was sitting there holding him, he was so scared of me and blaming me or saying that I killed him. And he's like, I don't know if I meant to do it or not. And I think like that like really clicks in because then it's just up to you. Um,
Yeah.
But when it comes to that, I love that Robin Williams' character uses that, and he's like, "Look, you made this mistake. I just made a mistake. I just wanted this girl to stop laughing at me, and I literally choked the life out of her." And the fact that like his character is so deranged and kept comparing the two, I love how Al Pacino reacted to that, and I love how the dynamic between because the characters were same in a lot of ways, but they were so different in so many other ways. I think the final battle or like shootout is fantastic. Uh, I also love that like there's two investigations going on. You have Al Pacino's investigation trying to find Robin Williams, and you have the deputy investigating Al Pacino killing his character, and they both like figure out everything at the same time, right at the end. And I think what really resonates with me at this film is like at the end, she has the bullet casing because he went through and swapped it, and she's like, "No one has to know that you did this. I can throw this away right now." And he stops her and he goes, "No, keep your path, stay on your path. Let me go to sleep." And it just like gave a perfect arc because at the beginning, which you don't find out to the end, you see that he planted evidence to get a guy accused or in jail, and he's always had that regret. He kills his partner, whether he meant to or not, and then at the end comes full circle. I want to be the good guy. I'm choosing to be the good guy, like Jared said, and I don't want this good cop to go down the same path I'm going down. So phenomenal.
Yeah.
That is my number 5. Oh, also Insomnia has a really underrated score. It's really good in this film too.
Yeah.
Um,
I will say I did appreciate the score.
yeah. What is your number 4?
My number 4 is Dark Knight.
Wow, that's surprising.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the reason Dark Knight is fourth, which, by the way, I have to say, Dark Knight is one of my favorite films of all time. It is definitely in the top 5. I don't know where it falls in that. If I have to put my top movies favorite all time together, I would be interested to see where this falls, but it is definitely up there. It is a perfect movie. When we talked about this movie during the Batman rankings, we hit every single aspect we could have. It is perfect. The between Heath Ledger's Joker and the way Christian Bale is as Batman in this movie, uh, and all supporting cast, really, it is beautiful. It is well done. I'm not going to go too far into it again because we already talked about it so much. The reason it falls this short is because, again, with all the movies in this list, the superhero movie it just lands shy for me. I There are too many great stories here that doesn't need a superhero to be good. Um, that's really all I have to say. Other than that, if I wasn't looking at that aspect, Dark Knight would probably be higher. But I had to give a little prejudice towards this movie because of the whole superhero aspect. With everything that falls into place, I had to put it in fourth. Maybe this is negotiable with the next two movies. I feel like these are all very, very close in these next few, but it's fourth for me at the moment.
Yeah, my fourth is The Prestige. Um, I fucking love this movie. I told Jared before we watched this, I was like, listen, The Prestige is either gonna be your favorite Nolan movie or like top 2, 3, or it's gonna be like your bottom 5. And I feel like that's how a lot of people view it. I love that this movie's so grounded. It is such a simple movie in how it is laid out. It is two magicians just fighting over who could be the best. They're constantly one-upping each other. And I love how one trick, what Nolan's trick, right? The Invisible Man, or not the Invisible Man. I forget what he calls it, but
The teleporting man or
yeah,
some
the
shit.
teleporting man. I love how Christopher Nolan found a way to make that so simple, but it never comes in your mind that it's a twin. You also throughout the movie are trying to figure out how he did it. And Hugh Jackman goes all this way. He goes find Tesla, and Tesla gets him a way to make clones of himself. And you're like, okay, that's how Nolan must have, or that's how Christian Bale must have done it. But no, it's just because they're twins. And then you get the payoff at the end of seeing the twin having to go through everything. Okay, Christian Bale lost his finger. Now the twin has to lose his finger, right? They literally show him cutting off his finger. I also love the duality between the twins. Especially like since I've already seen this film, I always love going back and watching how they interact with each other's like girlfriends slash wives, and like I think the thing that hits the most is like the one wife, like she'll ask, do you love me? And then he'll say, I do love you, and she goes, you don't mean it today. It's just because it's not the right guy. It's the wrong twin. And the fact that like the wrong twin gets her to kill herself because of how much pain she goes through. Um, and then for me, like the constant one-upmanship is amazing. I love how the one guy or Hugh Jackman fakes his death, and to get back at Bale, he gets him in prison and he takes his daughter. Such a dick move, but I love how you get that reveal. There's the twin. They kind of meet up at the end of the prison. The one twin in jail goes, I'm sorry for Sarah. Sorry for everything. She didn't deserve that. He gets hung. And then that other twin, he gets to go and kill Hugh Jackman, get his daughter back. Also, Michael Caine fucking does an amazing job in this film. Uh, so yeah, I mean, The Prestige, it's so good. Scarlett Johansson's good in it. Like,
Oh
it,
yeah,
yeah,
fuck.
it's
How about
just
her?
also one thing that like didn't click for me until the last time I watched this. Like when at the beginning when Hugh Jackman's wife dies and he asks him, he's like, "What knot did you tie?" And he goes, "I don't know." It's because he wasn't the twin that tied the knot.
Yeah.
And like that finally clicked for me. I don't know why it's taking this long. And I was like, dude, holy shit. Like, okay. This movie's near perfect. Near perfect. Fucking love it. I obviously you love it. You haven't even talked about it yet. That film is so good. But what is your number three?
So my number 3 is Tenet.
Okay.
So Tenet fucking surprised the ever living fuck out of me. I know I talked about it a little bit at the beginning.
Yeah.
I expected Tenet to not be good. I didn't go and see it in theaters, even though you're like it's a Nolan film. I didn't go and see it in theaters for the reason that I thought it looked bad. I thought it looked so damn stupid. Every time I saw a trailer for it, I'm like, I'm not wasting my time or money on this movie. I wish I would have wasted my time and money on this movie and see it in theaters. I could not believe how much I enjoyed this movie. Um, it's hard to understand for a lot of
Yeah.
reasons. It is very difficult to understand. That being said, by the end of it, I understood more and I liked the outcome more and I liked putting the thought into it more than Memento. Otherwise, if I didn't like this, I could easily switch Tenet with Memento like that. But I think Memento sucked ass. Um, excuse me. I am so sorry. This is the first time I've had a pop in like 3 weeks, so it's hitting me funny. Anyway, Tenet, yes, fucking great. The ending pays off very well. By the way, this was like a 3-hour movie, was it not? This was a
It was
long
like two and a
movie.
half hours. It was close.
It felt like it took forever, and
Yeah, it does.
like for whatever reason, like I said, it's hard to understand, but by the end of it, it is starting to pay off so well. And one of my favorite things is the interaction at the very end between Robert Pattinson and
John David
well,
Washington.
the yeah, Washington guy. I forget his full name because he's not like someone I've seen in a lot of movies. Their interaction at the very end, talking about the friendship and everything, it fucking dude, it
Yeah, the
hurts. Like
fact that like
I
he's like, who hired you? He's like, you did. We're like really good friends in the future.
yeah,
And you know that Robert Pattinson dies.
yeah.
And he knows it
It
too.
yeah. It fucking hurts. Like it hit me in a way where I'm like, dude, like I love Robert Pattinson's character so fucking much. It's not even funny. And what's funny to me is when I first met his character, I was like, this guy is a fucking prick. I hate him. I don't like him. And by the end of it, I'm like, I like this character more than I like the main character. Which kind of ties into what you said about like the characters not being 100% likable. But it there's so many points in the movie where I'm like, holy shit. The biggest points like when they go back and like the reverse thing when she gets shot and like just to save her and everything that happens at the airport. Holy shit. It when it ties up why Robert Pattinson's like, yeah, I took care of him. That whole thing, like, it blows my fucking mind. Just thinking about it right now hurts. Like, I just want to watch it again so I can understand it again. Um, but fuck, I don't know what to say. You have to see the movie to understand even a fraction of what we're saying because it is just so bizarre. The whole concept, the whole ideology. Like I'm trying to remember now what happens with like the antagonist and like how he comes into like finding out what's it called? Is it called Tenet? Like
Well,
the
he's just like
backward.
basically his whole motive is like he's trying to like end the future or end the past, right? So he's trying to like blow up. He's gonna use the he's gonna get a bomb from the
Yes.
future to come into the past to blow it up,
No, but
right?
what's it called? What's the process of switching called?
And it,
What do they call is it called Tenet? Is that what they
yeah,
call it?
yeah.
I'm just making sure. So yeah, when they like when he comes across it, like that whole thing, like it's motivation, yeah, like destroying the world and all that. That's I like that. But like his story is even fucking amazing, which I'm surprised. Like it isn't just some bad guy who wants to like kill the world. It's he's dying and he doesn't want the world to continue without him. Like it's that kind of that weird like I guess narcissistic motivation, but it's a damn good movie. I was surprised Damien had it so low, but the points he makes, I understand. I understand why he has it so low. Maybe it's because I've only seen it once that makes me like it. I'm so intrigued by it. I want to see it more. If we do a re-ranking of Nolan films in the future, this movie could very well be lower for me. But currently, it is number three.
Yeah, I mean, like the more and more I watch it, the more and more I like it. But like, cause like I said earlier, like yesterday I had this at 9, and I like sat down and I was like, I'd rather watch Tenet than Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises. Um,
Not that those are bad movies.
yeah,
It's just
I'd rather watch Tenet.
yeah.
So my number 3 is The Dark Knight. I mean, like if you want to hear our full thoughts on it, go see our Batman rankings. Spoiler alert, was my number 1. It's a perfect movie. The only reason why I have it as at 3 is because I think the films above this are also 10 out of 10 movies. I just think The Dark Knight's a hard movie to watch over and over again. The two coming up that I'm about to talk about, I could watch every day. Doesn't matter. Like, doesn't fucking matter. The Dark Knight, I do think, is a little bit of a hard watch. Like, it's a film I have to watch once or twice a year. Um, are you all right?
I'm just surprised.
Why?
Well, I know what your number 1 is, and I definitely thought I knew what your number 2 was, and I'm shocked that your number 2 is actually number 3.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah. So Dark Knight, I mean, it's great. It's just a little bit of a hard, like, it's not something I can like come back to a lot and watch. So, um, yeah. What
That's
is?
fair. Rewatchability absolutely plays a factor. I totally get that.
Oh yeah, I'm Jared. What's your number 2?
So my number 2 is The Prestige.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the second we finished this movie, I knew this movie was gonna be in my top 3. Um, I expected it to be number 3. I expected to put this behind, uh,
Tenet.
like, Dark Knight.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, and yeah, well, but also, but no, I expected Tenet to be below this. I enjoyed Tenet. Tenet sat at number 1, because it was the second one we watched.
I think so. Yeah.
Uh, it was either first or second. We either watched Tenet first because we had never. I think no, maybe we watched Tenet first, then Memento. I think that's what
No, no.
happened.
We
But
watched
Tenet
Memento first because I wanted
was it?
because my point with
Yeah,
watching Memento first is I wanted to get the most like simple, basic one out of the way.
that's right.
So
You
I
did say
think
that.
we watched Memento, we
Then
watched
Tenet,
Tenet, and then we watched The Prestige.
yes, and then we watched the Batman. Yes, okay. So Tenet was my number 1 for a minute. Um, then shortly after, I put Prestige right in front of it, and I knew it was going to stay that way. I knew that's how it was going to go, but I didn't expect it to stay where it was on my ranking. The Prestige was fucking phenomenal, and I had said that I'd seen parts of it. I knew I had. Like, when we were watching it, I'm like, "I've seen this." I didn't know the name of it. I didn't like, it's been so long, but the thing about, like, me and movies growing up, my dad would sit and watch shit. Like, he'd get home from work, he'd be done with work, and, like, he'd watch fucking PTI, the sports shit, like, during dinner, and after dinner, he would just sit and watch movies until he went to bed. And it was just random movies. There's so many fucking movies I've seen like an hour of randomly or like spots of, and I've never finished. Like I could be like, oh, I've seen that scene before. Oh, don't you love this movie? Well, I've never seen the whole thing. You're a fucking idiot. That's how a lot of our conversation goes. This is one of those movies. The Prestige is one where I've seen the scenes. I'm like, wait, I remember Michael Caine doing this. Oh, wait, I remember seeing Christian Bale. Didn't know he was Christian Bale at the time. I just knew his face. oh wait, that's fucking Hugh Jackman. There's scenes where I'm like, fuck, man, I remember this, but I didn't remember the whole movie. Um,
I remember asking you too when we were watching. I'm like, do you remember the ending of this? Because like this was out of all the films, this is the one I was the most excited for you to
yeah,
watch because this definitely out of all the Nolan films has the best twist at the end with the
it's
twin reveal and
literally
everything.
called like the Prestige. Like
Yeah,
the whole thing is like, oh, the
the
Prestige. The end of
prestige is the twins and like the
yes,
twist, right? So like when
it's
you, cause
so
I
good.
forget what scene we were watching. You're like, I think I've seen this before, and I immediately was like, you remember the ending? You're like, no, and I was like, oh, thank God.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's the Prestige. Like it's poetic. Like the name of this movie for how great the movie. It's poetic. I mean, pure beauty. It's amazing. But yeah, no, like Damon just said, like there was a point where I'm like, I've fucking seen this before. He goes, "Have you fucking? Do you remember the ending?" I'm like, "No, I mean, I've seen parts of it, and I'm pretty sure I said that at the time." Um, I'm so happy that I'd never seen this movie like all the way through the first time because like if I was real little and I'd seen it all the way through, that would have been a real bummer to be like, oh, I'm slowly remembering every bit of this movie as I go through. But like fucking watching this as an adult and like processing it the way I did, it like gave me emotions that I had not felt. It gave me feelings I had not felt, and it. I mean, if the number one movie on our list did not exist, this movie is number one fucking easily. There's literally no competition between 2 and 3 here. Um, it's a beautiful movie. The cast is perfect. I love Michael Caine. I love Hugh Jackman. Christian Bale is amazing. Everything you talked about with the twins, with the one upping each other constantly. I mean, like the wife and the girlfriend, the I love you, like even like Hugh Jackman's wife, the not everything. It's perfect. There's like oh, and even the scenes with the fucking ball, like where he does like the tricks with the ball with the kid, like is there's so many things where I can think about and just go, wow, fuck, like that's amazing. Um, there was a point I was gonna make before you had said something. I don't remember what it was, but it was along the lines of this movie is deserving of this spot because of not only the twist, but because of how perfectly crafted the lead up to that twist at the end is, how perfectly that everything is. It isn't just, oh, there's all this stuff and person A does this to person B, oh, twist, boom, done. No, it is like very in depth, little things that you can miss, but like if you have seen it once, you can see them again and go, wow, if I'd have noticed that the first time, like there's so many little points of that. Especially like thinking back, and obviously I haven't seen it a second time, but there's parts I have. Um, it's so goddamn good. I like to sit here and think about this movie again makes me want to watch it again. And while I can feel that way about a lot of these movies on this list, there's not anyone that I'm sitting here thinking right after we're done recording here, I want to go watch it again because it's so fucking good. It is again beautifully crafted, amazing payoff. The prestige again, poetic. It's a struggle to not put this in first, but unfortunately, it has to be where it is because only one movie is better. So you tell me your number two, my friend.
I think you're gonna be shocked by this.
I don't think I am.
My number two is Interstellar.
Okay, I guess I was.
No, I'm just joking. It's Inception.
Yeah, I
Um,
figured.
yeah, Inception's amazing. First off, Leonardo DiCaprio, fucking phenomenal performance in this. Even Tom Hardy, like Jared mentioned earlier, also really good performance in this. I love the concept of going in and stealing people's thoughts and how Nolan like portrayed that. Like, you know, they like lock it away in a safe and you can go deeper into people's thoughts. You need to like trick their minds and how that whole inner workings work is really done well. I think the part like, and I don't know why Leonardo DiCaprio keeps getting fucked up wives like this in Shutter Island. Like his wives were just fucked.
Yeah,
Um,
love Shutter Island.
Shutter Island, amazing film. Uh, but in this, like, I think what really comes down to it is his relationship with his wife and what you find out happens to her, and the fact that, like, I mean, I think the scene that, like, whenever I think of Inception, I never think about the buildings fucking coming over and like collapsing, or I never think about the whole like when they're 4 layers deep in the dreams and like at the end he like sets off one thing to set off another thing in a different dream. Like I never think about that. I always think about the balcony scene where she
Yes.
jumps off and you can like his pain. Leonardo DiCaprio, I think, is the greatest actor of all time because his
Dude,
pain in that is so good. It is
I was literally
so
thinking
good.
the same thing. Right when you said it, I was so happy. The Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good.
And the fact that like she's still haunting him, and then you get the payoff at the end where they're all the way in the deep, and he's like he has to let her go to move on. Um, I love the ending in the film because during the film you never get to see the faces, because he's only ever dreaming about them, right? And then at the final, like at the finale of the film, he spins his little topper thing. You get to see the kid's face, and he kind of walks off. And my favorite thing about this film is I love that the ending is open ended. Whatever you want the ending to be, that is up to you. If you want him to be lost in his mind, and that spinner to keep spinning, that's that's cool. For me, I think he's back. Like it's normal because like I can see it like wobbling a little bit. I know there's a lot of people who like I've read a lot of theories about this movie where they're like, no, he's still the same because of like his wedding ring. Like there's shit about like his wedding rings being different color. Like it's crazy. It's worth going into. I think the action in this film is amazing. I think it's perfectly casted. Um, yeah, I think this is a 10 out of 10 movie. This is a masterpiece. Um, it's just it's not Nolan's masterpiece. We're getting like it's not the Nolan masterpiece yet. And me and Jared are about to talk about the same one here. So Jared, why don't we reveal our number one Nolan movie?
Well, obviously, my number one and your number one is Interstellar.
Yeah.
Uh, we just finished this movie, and let me just put it this way: when I watched, let's see, there's only I think I can count on one hand how many movies have made me tear up and cry. Uh, the most recent one I can think of is Endgame. Everything that happens, there's multiple scenes in that movie that like make me tear up for good reason. And the first time I watched it, it was like sniffling like a little baby tears. Like I'm just sitting there like I holding my breath so I'm not like going like that's how bad that was. The second time I watched it, got a little red, maybe a teardrop here, but it wasn't near the same as the first time. Um, with Interstellar, I've seen this movie probably like half a dozen, between half a dozen and a dozen. Not, I definitely haven't seen it like more than 10 times. But I've seen it probably about a half dozen times, and every time, including tonight, like an hour or two ago, there were multiple scenes where I like get teary eyed and like it's like running down my face, and I am sitting there like with my hand over my mouth so I'm not making noise. And Damien the same way. We're just sitting there like, fuck, goddamn, fuck, man, shit.
Yep.
Just try not to like, be little bitches and trying to stay
Yeah.
manly. Uh, every time I've seen this movie, I think maybe the one of the times I was with family and I'm just sitting there like, all right, don't cry. Nope, we're fine. It's just a movie. It's fine. But in reality, there are too many scenes that just hit so hard. And it is due to multiple things. The main ones being the fucking acting is top tier. Matthew McConaughey,
All right. All right. All right.
uh, right.
And
Chick who
Hathaway.
plays Murph, I forget her
Oh,
goddamn name.
yeah. I get you.
He's in Jurassic World. That's all I can remember.
Not
Obviously,
not the same actress.
it has to be. What do you
It's
mean?
not. That's Bryce Dallas Howard.
Are you sure? She
Yes.
looks fucking exactly like her.
The girl in Interstellar is Jessica Chastain.
All right, well, they're fucking identical twins then.
Or
Whatever.
not.
Anyway,
Yeah.
Anne Hathaway,
Yeah.
also amazing. I mean, Michael Caine. It's just the acting is the only movie I could even remotely say is close to the similar acting is Dark Knight, and I mean, look where that was on my list. But anyways, the acting and the goddamn score. Hans Zimmer does things in this movie to make me feel things that I didn't know I was so capable of feeling, even to this point tonight where I felt them and was I can't even tell you how many times where I almost muted the chat because Damien kept going, God, do you hear this? Do you hear this right now? Do you fucking hear what's yes, I do. It's beautiful. Believe me. I feel it the same as you.
I'm
And
such
the
a
amount of
Hans
times I
Zimmer slut, dude. It, like,
oh my god, it's not even funny. I'm sure the amount of times and back, like how Dame probably felt the same way. I kept going, "Oh my god, I have goosebumps again. I have fucking
Yeah.
goosebumps," over and over. Um, there's too much in this movie that is so amazing, and I could literally sit here and talk about every single scene, every second of this movie from start to finish. I won't, but I fucking could, and I would love it every second. We could go over every little detail of this movie, and it still wouldn't be enough. It would not do it justice, and unfortunately, we have a lot of friends in our friend group who think that we're retarded for liking this movie as much as we do, and give us a hard time for liking this movie as much as we do. And to each of those people, I tell you to go fuck yourself with a fucking fork or something that's painful to fuck
Yeah.
yourself with.
I mean,
Um,
Interstellar, like,
it's beautiful.
uh, this is the film, like, so this is how I describe Interstellar, right? I feel like a lot of moviegoers, like, I'll tell you a story about today. Me and my mom, we went to go see this movie called The Lost City with Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock.
Ooh,
Uh, it was all right.
we need to talk about that. Yeah.
So we're out of the theater. My mom's pissing. I'm sitting waiting for her, and this girl comes out and she's like, "That was better than the Batman." Like I was falling asleep, right? On God, swear to God, that's what was said, and it like kind of clicked for me. Like some people just I'm not saying like I'm super smart for watching a Nolan movie, but some people can't sit down and watch something and try to put effort into it, right? I think that's where it's different. A
No,
lot
I
of
agree.
Nolan films, like you have to put effort into watching it. And like you have to pay it. You can't like, and I get so pissed off if like we're watching it because when I go to the movie theaters, I don't speak. I fucking sit down and I lock in. My mom will try to talk to me, and I look at her and I go, "Shut up! I'm not talking to you. Like stop talking to me." And I just focus back. Even for The Lost City, which is just a stupid comedy movie, I still just want to see everything. With Nolan films, you can't sit on your phone. Like Interstellar, especially, there's so much that's going on that if you miss 10 minutes, you don't know what's going on. Um, so my point was when I was starting to get into movies heavily, this was like the first movie, this and Blade Runner, where like I started watching a lot of films that required more from me. And a lot of people look at that as a negative, but I think it's more of a positive. And this was the first movie I showed like my mom, and this got her into being able to watch movies like Seven, movies like Inception or Blade Runner. My mom wouldn't have liked Blade Runner 2049 if I didn't show her Interstellar first. And make you look in here and say, hey, put your phone down, watch this, let's figure it out. We'll talk it out after. And now it's the same thing with horror movies, right? Now we have elevated horror, which is horror movies that have like hidden meanings behind it. So my point with this is like Interstellar requires a lot from you, and so does Inception, and I love that about this film, and it pays off so well because once you know what's going on and you grasp everything, it makes so much sense. A lot of people who don't like this film, I just don't think understand the concept of what's going on. And it's the small things when they're on the water planet and you can hear the little ticking and you realize that's days on Earth going by, right? Or, the fact that, when they're going around a black hole, he talks about we're going to lose 50 years because of how relativity works and like how the gravity works around it. Like it is just so great. This I think has the second best score all time in a film, all time. Like it is phenomenal. It is a perfectly composed movie. I love that there's not a lot of CGI. All the shots of the like the
Exterior of the crafts.
yeah, that's models. That's not
Yeah.
CGI. That is models. That is some fucking Stanley Kubrick 2001 shit. Um
And it fits so fucking well for
yeah.
this movie. It's not even funny.
And well, I guess my favorite scene in Interstellar because it just takes everything and puts it together when they're right at the black hole and they have to lose weight and there's not really any music going on. There's a little something, and they say Ranger 2 prepare for release, and Anne Hathaway's character looks up and she's like, Cooper, no. The music hits immediately, full force. You get a amazing line, remember Amelia, 90%, and then he drops and she's like, please don't do this. Like that scene incorporates everything I love about Interstellar. It's so emotional. You resonate with
Talking about it just gave me
yeah,
goosebumps. Just saying.
you resonate with every character. The score is phenomenal. The effects are amazing. I think it's one of the it's my second favorite movie of all time. I also think it's the second greatest movie ever made of all time. I like Jared said, I could sit here and talk about this film all. We didn't even talk about Murph and like his fucking relationship with Murph and how much that changes, or the fact that the big twist is that Michael Caine fucking solved his own thing years before, and he just never told anyone. Like, there's so much to this film. If you've never seen it, like, even though we just spoiled it, still it is worth it to go see. Um, my only regret with Interstellar is that I didn't see it in theaters because I just didn't know. Um, but yeah, Interstellar.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite scenes from the movie, and Damien just talked about it, is when they are heading to the black hole and they have to detach and everything. And everyone knew that the Lander 1 had to detach, but when Ranger 2, Matthew McConaughey has to detach, it's they say it, and Anne Hathaway freaks out. Wait, what? What? And she looks up, and they're looking at each other, like you just said, and the way that he says the 90% thing, and she just not even she doesn't say please. It's just the soft whimper. Don't. It fucking hits so goddamn hard, and he doesn't acknowledge. It's just oh, and just
Yep.
gone, and it is unbelievable. And what she doesn't say, I don't believe she said anything else after that. But as he's going into the black hole, he's transmitting every like he's basically just logging what is happening, and she has to sit there and listen to it. And when it cuts to static, and she just has she can't look, she just has her eyes closed. It's terrifying. She knows she's alone, and she listens to him what she thinks is die,
Yeah.
and it is that scene hits so it's just it's that's a really heavy scene.
Yeah.
Uh And what I think amazes me about it is so many people consider heavy scenes like blood and gore, like just really dramatic. And not to say this scene isn't dramatic, but they didn't need the like big explosions from action movies. They didn't need the blood and gore from like horror thrillers. They just needed the right score and the right things said and some damn good acting to get an even
Yeah.
better response
Well, it
than
pays
the other
off
movies did.
because of the character, like how much you relate with the characters, and then how
Yes.
well the chemistry is between them, and the emotion that is put in there. It is
They said that
phenomenal.
early. They said it
Yeah,
very early, the
very early.
relationship. Yeah, it's
Um,
that's what I was gonna say, talking about, you said, like, a lot of people don't appreciate, like, having to take the time, like, when you have to put effort into a movie, you have to put effort into thinking about a movie. I wanted to say, but I wanna let you finish. That's the difference between, like, a film and, like, true art in a movie. There are people who make these like make movies, and I'm gonna weird one to reference, but Rubber. Like that is just a someone had an idea, they made it into a movie. That's what it was. It was their own form of art, but in a lesser, like in a lower tier. Interstellar is it is just art from start to finish. Someone had the perfect idea, and they perfectly put it onto a screen and made it the purest form of art, and that it's amazing. To go on top of that, another thing I wanted to say is if you miss a part of this movie, you don't know what's going on. Obviously, we've seen it before. If we miss it, we still know what's happening. We know where we are in the movie. When we started this movie, I actually had Destiny 2 open. I was sitting in the tower customizing my character. I hadn't played it much recently. I just wanted to like change some of the cosmetics. I kept like, I was staring at the screen 95% of the time, but I would look over and, like, move something around, then I'd look right back, and I kept finding myself going, "Oh, shit, I got kicked out to the main screen." And I'd be like, log back in, put myself back in, back to the movie. And I'm like, "God damn, I got kicked again." And so, like, maybe 45 minutes of the movie, I'm like, "I'm not doing this." Like, I close everything out. The movie, like, grabs my attention so well that I was letting myself like, I don't want it to sound bad because I do love that movie, I wanna watch it. I was doing something, I didn't wanna stop doing it, and I just totally fucking was like, "Fuck this, there are more important things, and that is how good this goddamn movie is." Um, that my point there is it's amazing how just, how good the movie is, how much it draws you in, how perfect it is. Go see this movie if you haven't, and if you have seen it, watch it again. Be a little bit more open, sit down, evaluate it, find someone to watch it with you, and talk to them about how you each interpret the movie. And if you don't have someone to watch it with, watch this movie, talk in our comment section on YouTube, wherever you're listening to. Find a way, tweet at us, leave an Instagram comment, tell us what you think. Tell us what it is that you like about that movie, and we'll try to get back to you. And we might even talk about, if anyone leaves any kind of comments, we'll talk about it on the next episode, because we love that movie and we want other people to see the beauty in it and love it as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is the film, like, I've shown this to every family member I can, like, or any friend I can. Jared, I was telling you for so long, like, dude, you gotta watch this film. You gotta watch this film. Um, and I've gotten everyone to watch, even Cody, who doesn't watch films. Like you said, I think you put it perfectly. Like, this is art. This is like fucking art. It's not just a film. It is fucking art. And I reckon, like, even though Blade Runner 2049, I think is a better film, and I love that movie way more than Interstellar. It's a way harder watch, right? Interstellar, even though you have to put thought into it, like we were saying, just comparing the two, Interstellar is an easier watch. But I mean, dude, it is like, it's an all-time film. It is. I remember watching for the first time, and I sat down, and I was like, once I saw the credits, I was like, I just, like, you don't get it a lot. I sat there and I was like, I just experienced something I'm never gonna experience again. And there's been one film that has made me feel better in that, and that's Blade Runner. And like, now, like, there's been nothing. I can't get that. Like, I mean, Endgame was different because, like, I walked out of it and it's like, okay, that's the biggest movie of all time, money wise, right?
But that achieved that goal with what, 20 some plus movies
Yeah,
leading up to it. Now, not taking away from it, 20 plus movies to get that end game feeling.
yeah.
Interstellar is a one and done and gave
Two
us a
and a half
better
hour
feeling.
movie. Yep,
Think about that.
yep. And it's like, a lot of these films coming out now, like, just don't even like come close. The last film, like I said, like Endgame, probably. We'll see about Avatar 2 when it comes out later this year. Uh,
Yeah, that
that could, like, because the
yeah.
first one, like, I'm not a huge fan of. Like, I think it's really good, but like, it's not like a masterpiece. But it's James Cameron. He can do another masterpiece. Um, it's been a while, and it's like every time I come back to this film, like Jared said, I fucking sometimes I just cry. Like, if I'm in my mood, like, yeah, don't let me leave, Murph. Don't let me leave, and it gets to
Well,
you.
there's so many. Like I think one of the first ones is when he's leaving for the first time and she runs out, Dad. And then when they're watching the video after the Miller Planet, they're like at least 5 times where I'm like, God damn it.
Yep.
It hits. Like the first 3 times that I feel like emotion that makes me want to like sob, I muted my mic because I was like, I thought I was just gonna start like crying, and I was like, all right, I'm good, I'm fine. And so instead, I just sat here, and there was a point where Damien literally just went, "It's okay, we feel it," or something like, "We feel it," or "I feel it," or "It's okay, it'll be all right," or "We'll be okay," or something like that. And I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, it's fine. Hiding
Also, I
myself.
do want to say, because there's like the stigma, it's okay to cry to films. They are emotional. You get like,
Yeah,
we're
they're
not we're
supposed
not in
to
the
elicit a response.
1960s anymore. If
Yeah.
you're a guy, you can cry, and if art hits you a certain way, it's fine. I was gonna say earlier, like, it's funny, like, since I own all of them on 4K, like, if I had to rank the 4K like transfer, my list would be complete. Like, because Tenet would be number one, like, because that disc is phenomenal, like, looking wise, and then probably Interstellar, then probably Dunkirk, to be honest with you. Um, and then the Dark Knight trilogies, Inception's there. The Prestige, like, it's not like one of those films that like it's gonna benefit 4K a lot, but yeah, I was thinking about that. I guess we'll talk about our next ranking that we're gonna do in the future. I don't want to put a timetable on it, because
I
it's
think
gonna,
we did talk about it lightly in the last episode as
yeah,
well.
like, we're just gonna get it done when we can and do a podcast. We are going to go through and rank all the Kanye albums. So we wanted to get a music one done. Jared's now getting into Kanye. Uh, and so I think it's a perfect time to go through the College Dropout, Late Registration, all of them. Because Jared's not like a huge hip hop fan. So it'd be interesting to see his list. Because I think it's gonna, like, I think even yourself, like, I'm trying, like, Yeezus, right? That is like a lot of people's favorites, a lot of people's, once again, like a lot of people hate that one. I just want to know what you think of that one. And
It's
it's
fair.
just gonna be so interesting. So we're gonna get that done. Like we're gonna sit down and listen to those albums together at some point. Yeah,
We
next.
also, I mean, that's the main like next thing we're trying to do. But there are a few other ideas we have down the line that we've talked about in the past. Just bring them back up again since we're talking about it. We are going to do a second gun hobby podcast. However, we named that the first
Yeah,
time, something along those lines. Probably going to have a special guest or two.
I want to do a
There are a few.
mukbang again here eventually.
I definitely do a mukbang, but it's gonna be have to be something that we plan a little more carefully. I don't know if we talk about the podcast, but both Damien and I are trying to watch our calories, trying to work out more, trying to be healthier. So if we do a mukbang, it's gonna be a very specific like way it's done.
Yeah, it's gonna be on a cheat day.
We oh fuck yeah. There was we have tried to sit down and like plan out some more ideas. We actually have like a little group chat, a little group text where we start throwing ideas in. And I haven't put any in there, but I have some like on my own notes of stuff that I'd like to do for you guys. One thing I'm gonna say now because I do really, really, really want to do this, and I've sort of started to plan it out, is one of these days I want to go through and do a like a miniature hobby thing. May not take a whole episode. Kind of like how Damien shows off his 4Ks every week. I've got stuff that I just want to show off, like that isn't movie stuff, but it's still in the realm of like gaming, movies, music,
Like,
nerdy like shit
like,
that we do.
like Pokemon cards. Like you're very much into Pokemon cards. So like, I'm not saying that's what you would show off. I mean, like that's just an example. Uh,
Well, I kind of don't like you because that's exactly like that's one of the things I was talking
oh
about.
yeah,
I'm just gonna do a quick show. So these are some Japanese cards I got recently, different backs, all that stuff. They're
yeah,
sitting here in a pile because I don't know where to put them. But no, that I wasn't gonna be very specific about it, but since you brought it up and hit it right in the fucking head, that is one. I do have a bunch of Pokemon related as well cards,
yeah,
but also the games. There's new announcements. I don't know if we've talked about one of these weeks here soon, hopefully within the next month. I do want to go in, show off stuff I've gotten collection wise, stuff that is being talked about, and also the games that have been like have come out we just haven't mentioned, like Legends Arceus, the like Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, we haven't really talked a lot about. I do want to go into that more, talk a little bit about it. So stuff like that. And then we have what was the other thing? Oh my god, we talked about it recently. Um, you well unofficially, but you and I have talked a little bit about changing up our topics overall for the podcast. That
yeah,
is very, very, very broad, and that's all I'm going to say about it. But we might be doing some different stuff overall.
yeah.
So
Now that
definitely keep an
like,
eye out because we do want to do more, but also keep the same, but just keep it spicy.
yeah,
That's
now
what I can
that
call it.
like I got my job secured and like I'm actually like going somewhere in my life and like I have a set off day now. Like I definitely do want to do more. I think it's time like we get more personal on the
Yes,
podcast. Like I want to do like a while ago. I think it was like before we even did like 50 episodes. We did like a Q&A. Like Jared asked me questions, I asked him questions. We all to get questions from you guys. Like maybe like there's a lot of stuff like you guys just don't know about. So like maybe we could just sit down and, like just tell stories about just random shit in our
absolutely.
lives. Um
Well, we reference so much random garbage too, where it's like, yeah, we'll talk about it another time. We never gone back and hit on it.
yeah.
But there's definitely a lot we should talk about. And I feel like that would be a good idea to bring guests on because we have so many people we brought in for the mukbangs, for the gun stuff, just even random episodes or like Spider-Man stuff with Dirty Dave. We could bring in guests, talk about stuff, and there may even be guests we pull in for specific stories because they're like a huge part of it.
Yeah.
Um, I wholeheartedly agree with that, and like I said, we have talked about it. There are like other topics, like especially from the earlier episodes, like you said, sub first 50, where I had great ideas. I still have the notes somewhere of stuff for us to just do, like just to try it. And now that we're in these stages where we do want to do new stuff, I feel like now is the perfect time to pull some of that stuff out. One of them was like a trivia thing, but I forget how we worded it in together. I know we've done stuff similar, but there's like I said, so many fucking ideas. We'll get to them. We'll put stuff out there. I'm sure eventually we'll put like polls out on Twitter, post out on Instagram for like what would you like to see next, votes, stuff like that, or even like recommendations.
Yeah, I mean, if you got
Yeah.
stuff now, like, cause like you can leave comments on SoundCloud or iHeart. Like, leave a
Yeah.
comment down below wherever you're listening. Like, if you have an idea or if you want something from us, like we are willing to, take those requests. Like if you want, like, one of the things I want to start doing maybe smaller videos like that aren't like podcast related, like going through my 4K collection and then like that could just be like a thing with me by myself, and then which we had that 4K podcast a few weeks ago where we kind of went through it, but then Jared can also do like going through like his Pokemon collection or another collection he has just by himself. You kind of just get to know us personally, like one-on-one time.
Yeah.
Like this channel is definitely gonna, and I know we always promise more content, but now that I have more time, um, and stability, like we can actually like go through and add more content.
And that also means upgrading our setups to be able to produce better content.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
about to
not saying that
move.
we don't already have great
Yeah,
shit, because we both have, like, top of the line mics, we've got very good headsets, but better cameras. I mean, there's some fucking expensive ass cameras, like, real expensive, but, like, to get better cameras, get better, like, PCs, better recording equipment altogether, like, if I wanted to take something on my phone, like, just better ways to transfer things over, we're gonna get there, we're gonna work
yeah.
on it, like,
I mean, I'm about
years
to
to come.
move, so like my whole setup
That's
back
right,
here,
yeah.
like I'm gonna buy shelvings for my fucking 4K
Yeah.
movies, so I'm gonna try to make it cool behind me. I know now it's literally just a Halloween 2 and Halloween 3 poster, a fucking Winnie the Pooh blanket in my fucking closet. Um, here at least you have a cool you have a cool background.
Yeah.
You got
Yeah.
different lightings and stuff, but yeah, we're gonna upgrade here. It's
Oh,
getting
yeah.
time.
Well, and like I was about to say, like, years down the road, things are gonna be different, and I that's the other thing I was gonna say. I'm glad I remember this. I had the idea, haven't brought this yet, but we'll bring it up here. Like a time capsule-esque episode where we talk about, like, right now and how we wanna compare whatever that episode is to episode whatever, and we'll say, like, episode time capsule episode whatever, and then, rewatch on a certain date and do a compare on that date. Stuff like that, just to see how things have changed and to see if we like live up to any promises we wanted to make, like about recording or about certain topics, about like collections, what we hope to come out. Because obviously we can't tell the future. We don't know what games or movies are going to come out or even music, but things that we know right now that we want to change and that we'll hopefully do. There's, like I said, obviously we've hit lots of different stuff
Yeah,
we want to try to do, and hopefully we will.
yeah, and like me and Jared have talked about it a lot. Like we love recording the podcast because we can just like get all our thoughts out. Even like with the Christopher Nolan rankings, like our friends aren't into movie. Like Chad's the only other person like me and Jared could talk to about movies. Um,
Yeah.
and it's like
But even then, like even like Chad, like he doesn't understand every little aspect of what we want to talk about because
yeah,
I feel like you and I are very, very similar like wavelengths when it comes to a lot of stuff. So it's easy for us to be like, you get what I'm saying. Like we can just start a
yeah,
sentence and you just finish it, that kind of stuff. So even with Chad, like he likes movies but doesn't always get where we're going.
yeah,
And like with a lot of the people like in our friend group, while we can talk to him about stuff, it's hard for us to get it through. And that's exactly like I agree with that
yeah. And then
wholeheartedly.
we can come on here and like actually get to like say everything we want and
Not be
be able,
interrupted.
yeah, and be able to like put it out there and especially with movies like Interstellar, which our friend group doesn't really care for because they're fucking idiots. Like it's just cool. And then we have on SoundCloud we're getting like a lot of listeners now again, and like Spotify we're also getting some pretty good views, and YouTube like staying pace. So yeah, like we're gonna start adding more. So we'll see. I still haven't created the TikTok, and I know I promised it, but like
We're gonna get there soon.
it's coming. I just don't know when because I it's gonna be one of those random nights. Like I'm just gonna get really like confident, not confident, but I'm just gonna get like what's the term? Like I'm gonna want to do it. I'm gonna get the motivation like immediately and do it randomly like 2 a.m.
Yep.
Um
Well, TikTok, same thing as like I keep talking about streaming stuff that we're doing, so we get like a more of a like in between the episodes thing. Still haven't set that up, and like
yep,
I need to do that. Same as we need to get the TikTok. Like, there's a lot more for us to do to just like increase our interaction to like make everything more fun and better for
yeah.
us and you guys overall.
Obviously we're gonna start an OnlyFans here once we get a little bit more popular.
I mean, shit, if things keep going the way they're going,
Dude, I spent $70 to fill up my fucking tank today. Oh my god.
yeah, I I used to spend like 20, it was like 26, $27 for a full tank of gas. To fill up a little less than 3 quarters, I paid almost $60.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, wow, like this is America, isn't it? So, alrighty, guys. Thank you. This has been a long podcast, an hour and a half. It's been fun though.
God. Yeah.
We'll see what happens next week. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for listening. If you're on YouTube, please share as well. And we'll see you guys next week.
Hey guys.
Thank you for listening.